Welcome back to the show. Well, on CentralCoastRadio.com, we are going to take a look now at one of the biggest horror releases of this year. Yes, Saw, the franchise, is up to number 10. This is Saw 10 that is coming out this week in cinemas. And look, as someone who has taken a very vested interest in the Saw franchise over the years, I say that as a very big fan of James Wan and Lee Winnell. They were filmmakers that I looked up to when I was at film school. I've kind of always followed this franchise to see what happens next. And of course, we've had the good and the bad. And there's people out there who I know who have struggled with Saw films over the years. Even the original Saw film kind of had some people saying, had horror gone too far? And it was probably only because Hostel came out not long afterwards that people kind of started to think, well, maybe Saw's not as bad as what I thought it was. But Saw 10 is interesting because I've read a lot about what people have thought about this film before it comes out, and I was kind of lucky that I got to see a very, very early press screening of this. So I'd kind of seen this film while I was still reading people speculating about what was going to happen in this film. And to be honest, there were so many untruths out there very early on about this film. People talking about the fact that the creative team behind this film didn't have any experience with Saw, which is completely false. Kevin Grutart, the director, has directed a number of Saws and has actually been an editor on the Saw franchise since the very start. There's a few films he didn't edit, but he was an editor there from the very start. Likewise, the writers, Josh Stolberg and Pete Goldfinger, they have written a number of Saw films between them over the years as well. And the other thing too about me approaching this film is that I am not someone who hasn't liked a lot of the recent Saw films. I quite liked Spiral, and I even liked Jigsaw, the film as well. I think they've been trying some different stuff, especially with Spiral. They've been trying some very different stuff in the Saw franchise over the last few films, and I think that's actually been a little bit of a welcome relief. Now, that brings me to Saw 10, and the story here starts with John Kramer, Tobin Bell, now seriously ill with cancer. In fact, he is dying. He finds that there may be the possibility of a miracle treatment through somebody called Cecilia Peterson, played by Synovi McCady Lund. And he travels to South America for that treatment. Now, I don't want to go into spoiler territory because I think I want everybody to experience this movie the way I experienced it, where you didn't know much about what was going on. But let's just say something happens during that treatment, and soon John and Amanda Young, of course played by Shawnee Smith, have got some revenge that they need to do. Now, this is where I find it interesting with this Saw film, because like I said before, one of the things I've loved over the past few years, or over the past decade even, has been that writers and directors within this franchise have been willing to go out there and do different things. Now, having said that, this franchise, I believe, has suffered from the fact that Lee Winnell and James Wan haven't stayed on board as screenwriters and directors. I think that there's been times that even though they've been executive producers, it feels like this film has gone away from what their original vision was for the franchise. And I know there's been a lot of things said about that over the years, about like sometimes they don't even know what's happening in a film until the film's out in cinemas. I don't believe that. I think as an executive producer, you still have some kind of connection with the film. But I feel that it has suffered from them not being involved as much, and I think that this is a film that kind of almost rights some of that in a way, because yes, this film embraces the new and what people have been doing with Jigsaw and Spiral and films like that, where they try to make something different here. And you get that with the start of this film. At the start of this film, you're thinking, what is this? Is this like a John Kramer character piece? Because it goes so far into what John's going through, dying from cancer, and it's like, this is completely different. It's a whole feel. Tobin Bell gets this opportunity to really act as John Kramer, rather than just being somebody dishing out these vile and full-on punishments. And then something happens about a quarter of the way through this film, and then the film goes back to what James Wan and Leigh Whannell had originally with this, where it becomes a film about revenge and people getting killed and mutilated in new and interesting kind of ways. Now, there's going to be people out there that are going to think, well, I really wish that this film had gone completely new with what it was doing all the way through. And I have to admit, there's been times since I watched this film that I've been in that camp. Then there's been other times when I thought about it and thought, you know what, I actually like the fact that this goes back and embraces what the original creators wanted for this franchise. But there are some things that I couldn't overlook in this film. Because of the circumstances that John finds himself in here, you do start to question, how is he able to put together these torture devices so quickly? Like, it feels like from the moment he decides that he's going to have revenge to the revenge actually happening, it feels like a short amount of time has passed, yet somehow he has this elaborate plan that he's worked out with Amanda, and these machines and devices, contraptions have been built. Having said that, I love the contraptions and the devices in this film. There are some very creative machines here. Perhaps I was a little bit disappointed in the finale machine. I kind of wanted that to be big and epic, considering how creative they'd been with the other devices in this film. But look, I still thought that part of the film worked. It was kind of hard to believe that, yes, I know he's supposed to be a gifted engineer, but even the most gifted engineer would be struggling to put these devices together this quickly. So look, this is a film I think is going to divide people out there. There's going to be some people thinking, oh no, another Saw film, great, I'll sit through it because I love the franchise kind of thing. But yeah, it is interesting. Like I said, it does try to embrace both sides of what we've seen with the Saw franchise over the years, in that it does try to do something new with the character acting and study of John Kramer at the start, but then it goes into familiar territory. And as a Saw fan, I think people are either going to love or hate that. This is a film that's going to divide people. I've got a feeling that there's going to be people out there saying that they love this film, and there is going to be fans out there that are going to be like, this is just the same old, same old. So look, for me, and even my mark is going to be split down the middle. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5. I did watch this film and kind of embrace everything as a Saw fan. Do I wish that some things had been done differently? Yeah, kind of. I think still part of me wishes that the film had embraced what it was doing at the start with John as a character, especially considering Tobin Bell did those scenes so well. I think part of me wanted to see more of that, but at the same time, I felt that, yes, I was very, very happy that it went back and embraced that, what we know and love about Saw, the devices, the killings, etc. So, but my mark is going to reflect how I feel. It's nearly right down the middle. I'm going to give this one 3 out of 5. Saw 10 is in cinemas right now. It is a general release, so check your local cinema guide, and if you love a little bit of gory horror, go and see Saw 10.